I'm sure you've all experienced camping in one form or another, whether it be at a festival with friends or going on holiday with your family. But what happens if we add wild to the equation? When I was younger, we used to spend a lot of time outdoors. We used to spend time making fires, making dens, making camps, and sometimes we would even stay there overnight. And this essentially is what wild camping is. The simple definition of wild camping is camping outside of an established campsite. Unfortunately now, the land which I used to camp and play on is being developed into housing, much like a lot of the natural open spaces in Britain as a whole. Every year in Britain there's a demand for over 220,000 new houses to be built, and there is increasing pressure to build on Britain's natural green landscapes. So thinking of all this land being destroyed and remembering all the memories that I had going out camping and supposedly wild camping, it made me appreciate my environment that I had when I was younger, and it sparked an idea to go wild camping once again. Now of course I hadn't been wild camping in years, so it was time to brush up on some knowledge. I found a whole community of like-minded people that took up the practice of wild camping and shared their experiences online. Technically, you're not supposed to wild camp, not unless you have correct permission. It's not exactly an illegal practice however, but it is trespassing, because every piece of land in Britain is owned. In 1932, a mass trespass was conducted to highlight the problem of the public being denied access to large areas of Britain's open country. This act helped set in motion rights that would protect people in Britain's open country and woodland. So when you put it into perspective, the general outlook is if you respect the environment, you leave no trace, you don't camp near people's houses, and you don't disturb anybody, there's no real reason why you should get stopped wild camping. So with this in mind, some new outdoorsy equipment on the way, and fresh knowledge in my head, I prepared for my first real wild camp. So finally the night has come where I'm actually going to be going on my first night proper wild camping. Like I said, when I was younger we did go out in the woods and we spent some nights out, but we're going to be going along and meeting Luke Tweddle, someone that runs an Instagram and a YouTube page dedicating themselves to wild camping and survival hobbies. But before I get involved, I'm going to have to get the right gear, and for a start I can't do it in pyjamas, so this seems a bit more appropriate. It's going to be a really cold night. We are in winter, it's January, so it's pretty crazy that people do still go wild camping, but we'll ask Luke about that a little later on. Anyway, we're going to need some gear as well, and luckily I still have kept hold of some of my stuff I used to take camping when I was younger, so let's go have a look at that. First of all, safety first, and you can never be too safe. Also, a hammock, a tarp for a shelter, sleeping bag, wool blanket, extra strong cord, ground sheet, and a torch. And of course we're going to need things for the fire. So of course when we're out there we're going to need to eat, keep our energy levels up, keep warm, and some of the best things to eat when camping are tinned foods. So we've got ourselves my food. Luckily I managed to get my hands on some outdoor cooking supplies as well. So we've got some sort of mess tins here and other things we can heat up on the campfire, and obviously it can't be plastic or anything, so these are just normal tin, normal metal. And we've got cutlery as well because we're going to want to be able to eat our soup when we're out there. Of course with all this gear and all this food we're going to need somewhere to put it and somewhere to transport it. Luckily my friend has lent me one of these big army bags. But you can pick stuff up all over the place. You know, you can get army surplus bags, you can get specific camping bags or hiking bags, but this one seemed just right. So as we packed our things and journeyed to the secret location where we'd be camping, we didn't expect our expert Luke to suddenly cancel on us. Nevertheless, we thought we'd persevere. This will definitely make it more of a challenge for us. So we've arrived at the location. Now one thing we need to take into consideration is the weather. It's very overcast today and it has been drizzling along the way here. So it means that a lot of the fuel and the floor is going to be damp. So it's going to be an added challenge when we're trying to find the wood for the fire, and also trying to keep our stuff dry as well. So it's one thing you do have to keep into consideration when you're going out into the wild to survive. It was time to get out the trainers and into the walking boots. But without our expert Luke, we didn't know the local area. So we decided to take our drone up and see if we could find the perfect spot to camp. So at the moment we're going to be putting this drone up, which has an onboard camera, so we can sort of survey the area and find a really nice dense patch of woodland where we can camp. That's away from trails and paths and stuff, so hopefully we won't be disturbed. So this gives us a really nice bird's eye view, which we wouldn't be able to see, as you can see from here. So on the display already, from using the drone, I can see that there are some houses that we obviously want to avoid. We don't want to be camping up close to anyone's houses, and there is some more houses towards that way, but there is some woodland that we can get to if we just go straight through rather than going off to one side. So it looks like we're going to be heading to this patch of woodland over here. With the location of our site found and the light beginning to fade, we head off to our location. Let's go camp. So we seem to have found a decent enough location. Unfortunately, like we were saying, in UK woodlands, as things are getting smaller and smaller, it becomes harder and harder to find a place which is secluded and away from things like paths. But this is as good as we're going to get with this woodland. So what we're going to do is sort of clear the area a bit of debris. So you've got a good workspace to set up a camp, a fire, your bed, your tools, whatever. And then we're going to put down a tarpaulin sheet where we can put our camera gear and our bags and stuff so they don't get wet whilst we're setting up. So one of the pros for wild camping, and one of the arguments for it, is that it doesn't really harm the environment. So we're taking care now to obviously move things out of the way, but we're not breaking things, we're not cutting down trees, and any firewood that we do use will be dead off the floor, almost near to rotting away anyway. So what we're doing now, we've just cleared an area. We've also cleared a bit of an area over there, but this area is going to be cleared where we're going to put the tarpaulin down and put our gear down. So next part's putting up the hammock, which is where we'll be sleeping, and is quite a common, and I suppose you could say traditional, way for wild campers to actually sleep when they are out camping. So I've got one here. It's really cheap. You can get them offline, and we're going to go and attempt to put this up. So the same thing goes for clearing the floor underneath, and then we're going to string this between two trees. So this is the first time I've ever slept in a hammock, and the first time I've set up a hammock, and I've learnt this exactly just through YouTube videos. So let's see if it really pays off. Okay. First test is sitting in it, and obviously there wasn't a perfect area. There are some branches, but we'll sort of push those out of the way in just a moment. Let's see if we can actually sit down without it collapsing. Okay, I should probably move this branch, but that's okay. It's very comfortable, very comfortable. It's starting to rain, so we're going to have to get the tarpaulin up above this as soon as possible. No waiting around. What we've actually got is some birch bark off birch trees that have fallen. So it sort of looks like this. And we're gonna use this as our fire starter. This was actually a gift from someone. This is ferricidium, a type of metal which creates a spark when there's friction applied with stainless steel. So you have to be very careful how you do this, and as you can see, never rush, because you can snuff out the fire as quickly as you lit it. Okay, so we've tried to make fire sort of a more natural way, and preferably that would be the way to do it. And we did come very close. More preparation, and if we, took more time to gather more materials, then we would have been able to do that without a doubt. However, time's not on our side at the moment. We're cold, it's late, so you always want a backup option, like we said. So today we're going to be using this, which is a very, very simple fire lighter, just made of cotton wool, wax from a candle, and some cardboard and stuff. About done. So as we kicked back, had our food and a couple of beers, we really began to understand what wild camping was all about. It's about relaxation, resetting yourself, and doing something a bit out of the ordinary, which is completely different to our modern day jam-packed lives surrounded by technology. Okay, let's take some skill. I think there's probably better ways to get into your sleeping bag than this. But we've managed somehow, and I must say, it is very, very comfortable, and it's got a hood too. Then as I settled down and time went on, the temperature began to drop, and it wasn't so comfortable. Okay, so it's 2:30 in the morning. We got some more wood for the fire. We did get a bit cold. We got the fire going again just to get out and warm ourselves up a little bit. It has been difficult, and it is freezing now. I don't know if you can see my breath, but we are planning on waking up quite early because obviously this is wild camping, we shouldn't be here. So we're going to get up whilst it's still dark and head home when we can as well. So it's gone 5 in the morning, and I mean we are cold and we want to get out of here before early morning dog walkers come here and stuff like that. So we are packing up now, and we're going to make a move and get into our own beds before it's so we have some time to get some good sleep as well. I mean, I did manage to get to sleep. I can't say I went to sleep too long, but it's been an experience. It's quite like eye-opening to see what it's all about, and what we've got to do before we leave is scan the area, make sure we've not left any rubbish, sort of scatter the ground with leaves because we cleared some areas, and just make it look exactly how we left it. So we've just swept up sort of the area, made sure that there's nothing about. Obviously we've got our gear there, cleaned up rubbish and stuff that was left on the floor, and even some other people's rubbish we saw left here, which is quite crazy since we feel like we're in the middle of nowhere. But there's some other stuff, and it's sort of like good courtesy to do that. Anyway, we've brushed all the leaves over. As you can tell, you can't see that we've actually been camping here, and that's the way it should be. You can't tell, this is exactly how we left it. Looking back at our overnight trip and our experience into the hobby of wild camping, we can really appreciate why people do it, and would definitely now highly recommend it. I think the thing we both enjoyed most was escaping from technology and not having to check our phones all the time or be around any hustle and bustle of modern day life. So why not give wild camping a go?